understand what has happened to me, but I will use any weapon that is placed in my hand.
13 years after Peter Jackson's film adaptation of Lord of the Rings began, it's still drawing people to the movies and still spawning video games. The latest tale of Tolkien is Middle-earth: Shadow of Mordor from WB Games and Monolith, the team behind the 2012 MOBA Guardians of Middle-earth. It treads on new ground in the land of orcs and elves, as well as the action-adventure and open-world genres. But can it keep the franchise fresh after we've already been on so many journeys in this world?
I swore to serve the Bright Master.
Why use your human side to track the Uruk? I see more than any mortal. Cut off the head of the snake, and the body will wither.
The story begins before the events of Fellowship of the Ring, when Sauron was amassing his troops for a final march on Middle-earth. You play as Talion, a ranger whose life and family are taken from him by the Black Hand, Sauron's highest-ranking captain. This ritualistic sacrifice is performed to resurrect the spirit of Celebrimbor, the elf who forged the legendary Rings of Power. But the plan backfires when Celebrimbor uses his Wraith abilities to possess and resurrect Talion, so the two can set things right. Compared to other action RPGs set in Middle-earth, the story isn't handled as heavily, and it's for the best. You'll only encounter 5 or 6 quest givers outside of the elvish voice inside your head, and there are no towns or hubs to visit so you can chat with the locals. This is Mordor. All the locals are dead or in chains. Most of the subtext comes from the occasional cinema, spoken memory from a discovered artifact, or echoes from Talion's past that play over the loading screens.
We shall both sacrifice our lives to Gondor.
There's a rich appendix if you want to dig deeper, or you can skip it to focus on the bloody work at hand.
Mordor belongs to Sauron now. All men will wear chains or die.
Your curse confines you to the lands of Udun, the Mordor most of you are used to, and the Sea of Numen, the sunnier side of the realm beyond the Black Gate.
I never thought I'd see such life in Mordor.
This is how the Dark Lord shall feed his armies.
Quests are initiated at specific spots on the map, and forge towers help you fast travel around. You can't take many steps in Mordor without attracting the attention of one or more orcs, or specifically Uruks, so your plans often involve killing or enslaving them. At the center of your conquest is a menu screen showing the 20 most feared Uruk captains in each zone, along with the 5 war chiefs that command them. This hierarchy is constantly changing. Captains will challenge each other for supremacy, get stronger after they best you in combat, and get promoted whenever empty spots need filling. You can scout and assassinate captains in the open world, or participate in power struggles that present opportunities to eliminate one or more items on your hit list. To gain information on captains and war chiefs, you can track informants that, once they're overcome in combat, will list the strengths, weaknesses, and location of any Uruk you choose. Some officers are immune to ranged or stealth attacks, and others will run screaming from beasts or fire. In our experience, this information wasn't vital, but there's a lot of it to consider if you're looking to always have the advantage on your enemies. These personality-based stats can be unnecessary because the tools you're given are so ruthless and satisfying. By the end of Talion's progression, he's nearly unstoppable. Talion only has 3 weapons, a bow, a dagger, and a sword. One of them is automatically equipped based on how Talion is being controlled. The dagger is used while in stealth, the bow at a distance, and the sword is a last resort. Slaying captains or war chiefs awards you with runes that can be attached to one of your weapons, and you can buy more rune slots as you level up. The synergy between the bow, the dagger, and the sword is what makes the combat in Shadow of Mordor gratifying. Building up a combo meter by evading or countering attacks enables devastating moves that can help you take on hordes of Uruks. You have a limited number of Wraith arrows you can fling, but performing a combat drain after a high combo count will replenish them, allowing you to step back and thin the herd, which in turn makes it easier to rack up more combos. To tilt the odds even more in your favor, you can dominate Caragors and Graugs, natural enemies that roam the countryside and attack anything on sight. You can eventually dominate Uruks as well, building your own legion of captains and even war chiefs to challenge the Black Hand. Working through the Uruk chain of command in each zone can be a pleasant distraction. The more bodies you brand or bury, the easier the fights with their leaders will become, and it's easier to get obsessed with tagging every last target. While it's fun to have an impact on the game's social structure, some might not find the game very difficult. The Uruks can be pretty oblivious at times, failing to notice you stealth slaughtering their entire garrison, or missing opportunities to strike because you're performing a special attack. Anyone who's mastered the counter system in any Arkham game will bond with these wraith powers easily. There's even a detective mode of sorts, where Talion can scan the area for Uruks, beasts, and health-giving herbs. Another downside is the camera, which can get pulled into awkward places during the action sometimes, and is a little too close to our hero overall. While each individual skirmish might not test the limit of your skill, it's how one encounter affects another that keeps the proceedings fresh and entertaining. A grunt that gets lucky and kills you might end up as war chief after a few promotions, and you can develop rivalries with certain captains that will just not leave you alone. It's amusing how captains will remember your earlier encounters, getting bolder after they face you and win.
You left me for dead? Couldn't even bother to finish the job proper.
Or griping about scars you gave them if they fell to your blade.
How can I ever repay you?
It's also a special joy to chase them down after they run in fear. Despite being a rain-soaked wasteland, Mordor is quite beautiful. The surrounding mountains give an appropriate scale to the world, and it can be entertaining just to watch a group of Uruks get chomped on by a pack of Caragors from a great distance. There's no loot or treasure chests to slow you down, and Talion's sprinting ability is skill-based if you care to hustle across the plains a little faster. The game also blends in clever transitions between Talion and Celebrimbor's appearance when you use their various abilities.
Man swine! A man that doesn't die! Excellent! What fun we'll have!
Shadow of Mordor is about using stealth or brute force to dismantle your enemy's forces and eventually control them. Both the Uruk army and Mordor itself fit this progression template well. Mordor is small and barren enough to cross in no time at all, but big enough to house plenty of fun corners for stealth kills and epic boss fights. The Uruk are just dumb enough to be dominated by a human with wraith powers, but still intimidating when they flood the screen in large numbers. If you're fond of Tolkien, you'll enjoy this side story without being too offended by the updates to popular lore. If you've enjoyed Assassin's Creed, you may appreciate the visceral change of pace the game brings to the genre of open-world stealth. The world feels alive and treacherous, the combat gives you lots of gruesome options, and the enemy army is always evolving. It might not offer the challenge you crave, but if you enjoy killing orcs, there are 2 maps filled with the savage monsters, and they're all looking for a fight.
The death of a man like you is always rewarding.